All right, welcome to another episode of Straight Like That, the podcast hosted by me, Camille. Today we got a good guest. We've got a collegiate winner, world traveler, around the world and back to the nation's capital in DC, Mariah Lee. What's going on?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm here
Yeah,
in D.C. and I'm glad to be on the show. So thanks.
yeah, thank you for hopping on. But first, let's shout out the sponsors. Tasty Mates, a gourmet gummy suite based in London, England. Organically made gummies that come in a few different flavors. They just recently put out a new passion fruit flavor. So be sure to check them out, link in bio for that. And Club DS. Club DS is a streetwear brand based out of Los Angeles. The word 10 means the number 10 in Spanish. And the number 10 in soccer is always the player that brings the most joy, creativity, and takes risks. Inspired by their Mexican roots and the number 10 in the beautiful game, Club DS created the mantra of Siempre con Alegría, which translates to always with joy. The message of the brand stems deep in the Los Angeles community, and the aim is to spread this message to other communities around the world. The mission is to remind people that no matter what you're going through, do it with joy. Life is full of ups and downs, but you will always be able to overcome any obstacle. A little bit of positivity, faith, and joy will go a long way. Siempre con alegría. So let's get straight to it. Why soccer? How'd you get into the sport?
I actually played like every sport imaginable growing up. Like everything, a different season, different sport. My parents were athletes, and I feel like every kid plays soccer. I think it's the most played sport in youth rec soccer and like recreational sports in America, actually.
Oh wow.
Um, and I just eventually came back. I played everything, came back because my neighborhood friends were playing and
Mhm.
happened to be good and just kept it rolling from there.
Yeah. So what other sports did you play, and why? I guess did you always come back to soccer?
I did t-ball, basketball, gymnastics, track, ballet, softball, golf,
Okay,
swimming,
athlete. Yeah.
fitness, yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like all my neighborhood friends, they had a year-long soccer team because I would just do the seasonal sports.
Okay.
Because in our rec soccer or like in like recreational sports, you would have like soccer in the fall, basketball in the winter, t-ball in the spring. In the summer, you could do like whatever.
Hmm.
And then my friends were doing year-round soccer, and then they asked me to join their team. And first, it's social, like all your friends are playing. And then I was like, good. So then I kept doing soccer year-round.
Hmm.
And then my main sports kind of just became soccer, basketball, and track. And I competed at a high level. I did AAU basketball. I was like a nationally ranked sprinter. And so I did all those three until like high school. And then I just focused on soccer.
Okay, so yeah, you are an athletic freak. You were going crazy when you were younger. Going into high school, why, I guess, just soccer, and what, made you want to dedicate more time to it?
I love soccer. I was the best at soccer, but like I
Okay.
also basketball, track was fun. Like you could just kind of just jump in with track. But
Hmm.
I knew like I probably wasn't going to grow. My prospects of going to the WNBA were like very slim. So just like thinking long term, like the sport that I had the greatest potential was going to be soccer. Like track, it's hard because to go to college on a track scholarship to be at the Olympics, like you have to be like the top three
Yeah,
event in the country. So just
that's
like the
true.
odds track are a lot just slimmer because
Hmm.
soccer, at least you have 11 people.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just the numbers are greater with soccer and even soccer compared to basketball, the numbers are greater. Just you have more
Yeah.
people on the team. So there's just more opportunity. Even just from like an economic standpoint. Um, and yeah, I was being called into the youth national team at that point with soccer, so I knew that was going to take me to college.
Oh,
And
wow.
um, yeah, I just loved it too. So
Yeah,
that's kind of,
yeah.
and then I had time constraints, so I couldn't do everything.
Hmm.
I was very studious. I was a high achiever, so I took my grades really seriously. Missing class or soccer was tough. And then I also was doing student government and all these clubs. I just didn't have time to do everything.
Jeez.
Yeah, at one
Well-rounded
point,
student doing it all.
yeah, at one point I just had to just say, you know what, I'm just gonna do soccer.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. So
I
let's,
mean that prepares you for college. Like at Stanford, you can't just play sports, like the
yeah,
school, schooling. Um, so all of that, like juggling everything helped me. It helped me be prepared to go into that environment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's backtrack a little bit. What age did you know that you were like, one of the best? Or you
Well,
felt like, when you were on the field that you were one of the best?
I've always been competitive.
Okay.
So I've always wanted to be the best at whatever. So
Okay.
like my parents have all these stories. Like I remember growing up, my uncle in his backyard, me and my cousins would always race, and I was the youngest one, and I'd race against my brother, my older cousin, and I wanted to win. Like
Hmm.
since I was a kid, I wanted to win, and I would beat them. We would race in the backyard. I was like 3 years old. I'd beat my brother who was like four, my cousin who was like five, and um, then my mom has the story. I don't remember when I joined my friends like year-round soccer team on the first
Hmm.
day. I remember coming home and being really sad. So I'm like, the girls are so much better than me. And because the technical, we don't do all these like drills that I still do
Yeah.
today. Um, and I felt like I wasn't as good. And then I guess the coach called my mom and was like, your daughter can be an amazing soccer player.
Wow.
And I didn't know about that. And then I made the jump sixth grade, going into seventh grade. I left that rec team to go to like a premier team. I played with
Yeah, yeah,
Washington.
yeah.
And it was like this huge decision because they were all my best friends. But I was like dominating. I would like just destroy the team.
Yeah. You need a better challenge, huh?
Well, like I knew at a certain point, like I wanted to get better, and I
Hmm.
had guest played with like this, premier teams and stuff, and I knew like that was how I was going to get better. So I made the decision
Yeah,
to go, and it was there's so much drama, when you're a kid, everyone.
yeah.
But then I go, and then again on the first day, like we were doing possession, like we never played possession on my rec team. We're doing
Hmm.
all of like skills that I've never been exposed to. Like I was like, there, girl, those girls are so good. I remember again this whole thing. I'm telling my parents these girls are so good. I guess the coach calls my mom, my dad, and just like your daughter can be an amazing player. This is my other coach at this
Yeah.
point. Same conversation, which I didn't know about. And so for me, I didn't, my parents didn't tell me, but we had ODP tryouts
Uh-huh.
later that year because I joined going into the fall, and we had our first ODP tryouts in the spring, and I
Hmm.
made the state team. And so then I knew I was good because I was like, okay, I'm one of the best players in the state. Like, okay,
Right.
I
Yeah,
and
it gave you some
then
confidence then.
yeah, so I was like,
Hmm.
okay. And then we went to regional camp,
Hmm.
and I made like the regional pool. And I was like, okay, I'm one
Oh,
of the
so you
best
just
players
keep
in the
going.
region.
Hmm.
And at the first year, you only go to regional camp, you don't go to national camp.
Okay.
So like I made the highest level of team that I could make.
Right,
And
right.
then the following year, if you made the regional team, then you would go to national team camp tryouts. And then I made that. So then I was like, okay, I'm one of the best players in the
So
country.
you just keep going all
Yeah.
the way.
So that's how it
Okay.
was. Back in the day, when I was coming up, ODP was still really popular.
Yeah.
And they've rebranded to like EPD. And like now, I think it still happens that people don't really go because
Mm.
there's other avenues like ECNL and like all the academy stuff to get seen by the national team. But when I
Yeah.
was playing, it was really only through ODP. And then later, ECNL became a thing like when I was in high school.
Okay. Okay. So you were in seventh grade when all this, leveling up was going on.
Yeah, because that was the
Okay.
age when you could try out for like the
Yeah.
national. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then from that moment onwards, was that kind of like the moment where you're like, I can go to college and do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that was
Because
the goal.
they would have college scouts the at like our national team camps. We'd have some sort of friendly, and it was open. So they'd have all these college scouts lined up
Just watching.
watching. Yeah. And then
Wow.
when
Okay.
ECNL in high school, like my sophomore year, ECNL kind of kicked off, our club joined, and we'd have college scouts lined up at our games.
Jeez. Okay, so yeah, you knew. Seventh grade was what, 13, 14 years old? 12 or
Yeah,
13, I think.
yeah.
Okay.
So between seventh grade and ninth grade
Uh-huh.
is when I said, okay, I'm one of the best players. I definitely can go to college. And
Hmm.
then I really liked going to national team camps and like regional camps just because I was exposed to different styles of play, good
Hmm.
coaching. And then they would always give you feedback. Like you would have these sheets and you would have to rank yourself on all of the different sides of the game. So you'd have technical, tactical, mental, physical.
Oh, wow.
And then you would go through and then you would have like specific skills and like traits and you'd have to rank yourself.
At 13, you doing this?
Yeah, so I remember the first state, we had like a state team tournament
Hmm.
and we had one of the sheets and you could rank yourself between 1 to 5 and 5 was like national team caliber and 1 was like needed improvement or something.
Right,
Like
right,
1 was like, I don't know, bad, but like five was like national team. And so I'm assuming like 4 is like regional team, 3
right.
is like state team. And like then they said like from like really excellent, but excellent was national team. So they have this thing and all the girls got on the state team. And this is before we even went to the state we before we went to Idaho camp where all the states came and then you
Yeah,
made a
yeah.
regional or I made regional team, anything. I just made the state team. We fill it out after like a friendly against Oregon. And I give myself 2 5s on like speed and strength.
Hmm.
And none of the girls, they were all like, did you give yourself any 5s? Like none of the girls gave themselves any 5s. But I said, I gave myself 5 on speed, 5 on strength.
Confidence, right.
I'm like, I'm a nationally ranked sprinter.
Yeah, you've been doing this.
Our coach was like, exit. He's like, I don't believe in 5s. Like, I don't believe anyone's at a 5 yet. And he exit, and gave me 4s.
Okay.
And
You take that shit personal right there.
no, but like, I was like, okay. But then
Yeah.
I know no one's gonna be faster and stronger than me. And then once later we started going to national team camps, we do all the testing. So you'd have every camp you do beep test, you
Hmm.
do a sprint, 40-yard dash, and you do an arrowhead testing and you would do vertical jump. And then they would rank
Damn.
you. I'd always be number 1 on the physical.
Okay, so let me get that 5 back, please.
Exactly. So for me, then they would do technical tests sometimes.
Yeah.
It just depended. Some camps they didn't, some others they did, but it
Hmm.
would be like stuff that I had never been exposed to. So like one of them was like they would have the ball lined up on like the 10-yard line, or like maybe they start with like the PK spot and you'd have to hit it into the goal with no bounce, like on the fly.
Okay.
And then they'd move it back 10 yards every time.
Okay.
So it's testing at that point. I didn't know. I was like, okay, like we're just kicking it in the goal, but they were testing to see if you could drive a ball.
Damn, they were really getting
And
into
so
it,
they
huh?
push it back. And
Yeah.
so if you've never done that before, like I'm trying to chip it in,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
they're like, oh no, we want you guys to be able to drive it like this. And I'd be like, okay. And then I'd go home and practice.
Right.
So I was get exposed the first time because I had never seen it. And they had
Hmm.
another one where like you're in a box in the middle and they'd have people, like 4 people outside of the box, like 15 yards away, and they would pass you a ball, and then you'd have to do a touch in the box and then pass it somewhere else. And
Yeah.
if you have to touch out of the box, you'd lose a point and stuff like that.
Jeez. And this is the
So, and
first time you've
they're,
been exposed to this type of stuff, right?
yeah, so it'd be
Okay.
like they want you to open up your hips and
Yeah.
play on the other side and have your first touch. So then I would kind of like not like have experienced these, so I would
Hmm.
always be like low on the technical and then high on the physical. And so then at the end they'd have evals and be like, well, if you want to get invited back you have to improve your technical ability, and I'd take it to heart and I'd go
Yeah.
home and I'd all summer I would go out and practice. I would just be on the field all summer practicing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. And
and it
then you
was
would
nice
improve too, huh?
because, and I would improve. So it was
Hmm.
nice because I would get there and they'd expose me and I'd come home. Whereas when I was playing with my club team, I wouldn't have that level of
Right.
scrutiny.
Right.
And so then they would give you different things.
Yeah.
And so I
So,
like even if I scored low or whatever, it made me a better soccer player because I knew I'm like, okay, if I want to be the best of the best, then I have to work on this.
Yeah, no, I get you. So when you would come back from those camps and you would work on it, how was your play back home when you were playing on the club team back home and everything? Were you
Oh,
just
I would just be the smoke girl. I just smoke girls.
oh, so you were already a beast. You go over there, you get a little criticism on how to get better and everything. You come back, and, I feel bad for the girls you played, honestly. So let's go ahead and talk about high school. So you're exposed to all of this right now. Are you playing club and high school soccer for your high school?
I was part of the first wave of people who didn't play high school soccer.
Okay.
And so it was kind of unheard of on the women's side. On the men's side, if they were part of the academies, they weren't allowed to play high
Right,
school.
right.
That was starting to happen, but some
Hmm.
guys did. So it wasn't a straight up rule because there were guys who on Sounders Academy who still played high school at that time.
Hmm.
But so my freshman year, I played high school soccer in the fall, and I actually ran track in the spring, and we won state championships in both.
Oh, wow.
And after that, I didn't do high school sports, and people were pissed off. But I was like, if this is as good as it gets, we're state
Right.
champ. I felt soccer, I did not improve. I got out of shape. And I was like, I have bigger goals than just high school. And I
Right.
want to meet those. I need to be challenging myself. I can't just have the fall be like, oh, it's for fun, it's social. Like, I want to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
better. So
Right.
I decided not to do high school soccer the rest of my years. I would train with the boys in the fall with my club because they were still
Hmm.
doing club soccer because high school was in the spring for them.
Hmm.
And so I would train with like the year younger guys, and I loved it. And I felt like they pushed me and I got better.
That is so unique. I've actually never heard someone go that route. Like they basically opt out of the remaining years of high school, playing days, and instead go train, but not even like go private train or nothing. Go train with the guys in a club and in a club setting and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really cool doing that because also Stephanie Cox, who played on the US national team, she has an Olympic medal. She is from Washington and she would come and train with that same boys team. So it'd be
Wow. Okay.
Stephanie Cox and all these boys.
And how were y'all playing against them? Were like y'all kind of, you know, levels above them, or were y'all kind of just in the middle with them?
Well, I feel like I could hang
Hmm.
because physically I was in the mix.
Okay.
So it's hard for some girls because the guys are just way faster and way stronger. And for me, that's like never the case.
Hmm.
Um, and Stephanie Cox just had some things that she was just like really good at
Hmm.
that like you don't because she's so experienced. So she was like really good, like randomly at like half volleys.
That is a
And
random one to be
she'd
good
be
at.
hitting these half volleys all the time, and we'd just be like, what? But like physically, I was even stronger and faster than her. So I was even
Uh,
more competitive on that level and I could react more. Um, but she just had like a soccer IQ and other things that were just like really good. But it was, I think for both of us, it was a good level.
yeah, yeah.
I would do some stuff and I'd be shaking the guys sometimes and they'd be
Okay.
like, what? But it was harder than the girls. Like it was definitely harder for me to get by them because everything was faster too. So
Right.
I feel like that was the biggest thing is the speed of play
Hmm.
was faster. And back to goal, it was harder for me with the boys.
Okay. Why is that?
I was still able to, I would say, get them like if I was in a tight space, I was still able to like get out of it with like my skill.
Okay.
They would do a lot more of like touch restrictions, stuff like that, that like we didn't do. And so everything was just boom, 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 a lot faster.
Faster. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And did that help your game? Did you become, a
Yeah,
quicker
yeah, yeah,
player?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a
So
lot faster.
yeah. Okay. So everything is what it sounds like is the moment, you get kind of kind of tired of it being, you ball and you want to find a way to get better and better and better in any facet of the game. So
Yeah.
can we apply that also to the academics? Because obviously going to Stanford is no joke. Even, if you have athletic ties to it all and everything. So kind of, I guess, talk to us about that too. How'd you, balance training so hard and trying to get better with the academics part?
Yeah, well, also in high school, I was taking like AP classes, college classes, so
Hmm.
I was used to it. But then once you go to Stanford, everyone is a brainiac. Everyone is so smart.
Damn.
And so they just think you can pick stuff up quick.
Yeah.
They'll teach you something because people absorb information and they process it really quick. So it was just really hard. You have to find what your lane. You have to find your lane.
Hmm.
Um, but like the school had really high bars for athletes. Like I always say it's the hardest school to get into, even compared to the Ivies, because they
Hmm.
have these minimum requirements where Ivies have averages.
Hmm.
So if you're really good at soccer, you could get in with like lower test scores and lower grades if they have someone who's like a brainiac who's just going to be a walk-on because they'll just average it out. Where
Okay.
Stanford had all these minimum requirements with like your GPA, SAT. They even told me, because I went to a public high school, that I had to take all of these hard classes because it wasn't as rigorous as like a private high school where I could take like normal classes.
Jeez.
So
Okay.
they want you to even just be prepared before you go. And so then when you go, like they don't have any mandatory study hours. So they're like, you're here for a reason. You should know how to balance your load. Like we shouldn't have to tell you to go to study hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I came in, I'm like, oh, I want to be a doctor. And so I was taking all these chem classes and I hated it. I hated it, hated it. And I took a history class and I actually loved it.
Oh wow.
And so I was like, you know what? I like this. I'll take more history classes. And I think if you have a passion for something and it's more enjoyable,
Hmm.
then it's just going to be probably something like that you're going to feel reward from. You're going to feel like, oh, this grueling, nature of school is more worth it. Like you're going
Hmm.
to feel more confident. And so like some people are more math and sciencey. That wasn't me. I'd rather write an essay. And I kind of found that out after going through all these sciences that like give me a 15 pager.
Oh
That's fine.
Jesus. Oh, 15 is
But
crazy.
that's fine because I could pick
Yeah.
the topic. I could
Yeah.
research it, find something I liked. I could write a whole, I could write a whole thesis on it. And so some people are like,
Damn.
I could never. So you
Right.
just kind of have
Yeah.
to find what you like. And some people it takes a little longer than others. But I think that's the key for me. That was the key. It was like finding an area that like I enjoyed and like I would rather read and write than like go
Yeah.
into the
Yeah. 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 And so did that kind of, I guess, help you with, having to balance both academics and athletics? Is the fact that, you enjoyed what you were doing both,
yeah.
on the field and in the classroom?
Yeah. And I just feel like my personality is more of like I like to work hard
Hmm.
and that's just been ingrained from my parents. So I felt like I had more control over the outcome of like a paper because I knew I had good time management. So I could start early, I could get all the research done, I could show what I know and like work my way into like a really good paper because I gave myself the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, whereas if I had a multiple choice test, it's just like you either know it or you kind of don't know it. So I
Yeah.
feel like there's like the room for you to control the outcome.
That's a good way of seeing it.
And that just works for my personality.
Yeah.
Where some people just think differently and are like just the test because it's black and white and they don't like how when you write a paper there's more gray area, but I like that.
Yeah. So you say you were more of a creative person, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you basically end up in Stanford?
Well, so
What was the recruiting process
all
like?
you Paul's been there. He's the head coach of Stanford, Paul Ratcliffe. He would
Mm,
recruit at national team camps. So he saw me at national team camps. And then I think he saw me at an ECNL event. And then I remember he called me because you could send out, back when I was playing, they had to wait till after your junior year or something, but you could send out emails.
mm,
You just had to send the email and they could respond with like their camp info, but they couldn't, that's all they could say.
mm.
And then at a certain point, if you called them, they could answer the phone or something.
The
So I
rules
think
are
I,
always,
yeah, there's some rules. So I called him and he answered and he's like, thanks for calling. Yeah, I've been watching you play and we like you. And I was super excited and like, but we want to know your grades.
damn. So they
Because
are,
they
you
asked me straight
right.
up, if you had bad grades, it would just be just a non-qualifier. Like it would be a
Wow.
non-starter. Like if I said I have a 2.0, they would have been, okay, thanks, click.
Boom.
And so I was like, I got a 3.9, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, we can continue the conversation.
That is so crazy that it's that much of a deal breaker.
Yeah, because if
Wow.
you have bad grades, it's not worth it. You're not going to get in. So every
Yeah.
year you'd have verbal commitments and then you'd apply later because people would commit early. So I committed going into my junior year of high school,
Wow.
but I still had 2 more years of high school to do. And
Right.
so they'd be like, remember, to stay on your grades because every year we have girls who apply and don't get in.
Wow.
So then you do the whole application process and then you hope and pray that you're good.
That is, wow. Okay. So you could think you're going, and then you might not actually get in, and then it
Yeah,
kind of
every
changes
year would
everything.
happen. And then it's just embarrassing at that point. I didn't want to get embarrassed. My sole thing was I don't want to get embarrassed. Because
Hey, you made it
I'm
happen
telling
then.
people I'm going to Stanford. I got a sweatshirt, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I do not want to be the girl who's like, oh, I didn't get in.
Yeah, yeah, nah, we're not letting that happen. But hey, you went, you made it happen. And now transitioning to, your Stanford days, what was it like playing at Stanford? I mean, that's a top program. Everyone knows what they do.
Yeah. I felt like it was like a national team camp every day.
Wow.
Yeah. Because everyone had been with the national team
Yeah.
at some point. And so it was that intense. It was like ruling, it was competitive. It was just the standards were so high.
Hmm.
And it was good because that's how you got better.
Yeah.
It was stressful, but I think it was the even playing pro and everything, I think we had the greatest standards of excellence and like our culture of excellence was Stanford. It's unbeatable. It's been unmatched.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you make it sound like you're both getting into the school, maintaining, your grades while at school, and then now you're talking about the soccer aspect of it all, being like, yeah, it was basically, national team camp every training session.
Yeah. And the thing is, so we all, because everyone there is competitive, everybody there is a high
Mm,
achiever. So we just all of us being there, that's going to be the culture. But then the coaches added a whole nother element that just got out of control. But I would say just with the players, everyone, because everybody's type A at Stanford.
yeah.
Everybody is like by the book, every like touch is perfect. And they wanted all these technical players too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'd be two touch, one touch, tight. It's bow, 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 because that's how we wanted to play.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so you had to be able to just focus in. You do the passing patterns, boom, 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 boom. If you mess it up, everybody's on you. Like,
Oh my. So you got
yeah.
to come in every day ready, focused, healthy, everything.
And then I would say Stanford was on another level than my pro teams because there wasn't a drop off. On all the pro teams, there's academy girls who are there, there's girls who are 16 there, and they pull the standard down,
Oh,
and then
geez.
people don't say anything,
Oh, but
and
they'll
they're
say
messing
something at
up.
Stanford. Huh.
No, yeah, Stanford, no, there's for everybody, they're on everybody, like no one's messing up. Whereas you're in a pro environment and there's big differences and levels.
Yeah, yeah.
And like it's just kind of the unsaid thing. Like a lot of times when the high schoolers mess up, it's just whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, we gotta hold them accountable too. They're here, but like that's just
That's not the culture, huh?
not the culture.
Damn. All right, so clearly you had some success in Stanford. You won the national championship. I guess talk to us about, that whole season. What was that like in its entirety?
Well, so to give some context, Stanford's always been good, but we had only won, I think, one. I think we had only won one national championship before that.
Oh wow, I
Meaning
didn't know
the
that.
men's side was historically bad, but they got a new coach, Coach Gunn, and he turned it around. So the men had won twice back to
Hmm.
back. And so we're like looking at them.
Where the hell these balloons come from?
They love men's soccer. And so we're looking at them like they turned around, they won back to back. We're competitive, right?
Yeah.
And so we hadn't won one. We're going into my senior year. And this is the spring. This is after junior year. We got out historically early junior year. And we're pissed off. And the men won it. We're just like, so we go into the spring and we're just like, we're winning a national championship next season. It starts now. So the
Hmm.
spring was on a whole nother level of like us being locked in.
Shit,
And it
because y'all
came,
already locked in every day. So how can you go
I
even
know,
higher?
but it come from the seniors because we're so like because the spring is grueling. You have 6:30 weights. We have to come back
Shit.
in and do soccer class. And then a lot of it is without the coaches because of all the rules and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're trying to lead it. So we're like on everybody, but in a healthy way.
Right, right.
But it was like little things like no one's leaving the line early, like we're on the sprinting because it's just fitness is crazy. It's just crazy. But so spring, we're locked in. We're doing like everything possible. We get to the
Hmm.
fall and we're like, the guys do a dry season. We're doing a dry season. Everything we're doing, we're winning. And then we have all these freshmen come in. So Kat Macario comes in. That was her freshman year. And like we're just unstoppable from jump. We're demolishing teams. It was like
Damn.
3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 7-0. We're breaking all these scoring records. We're like, we're winning it this year. So
Oh,
there was
damn.
no doubt in our heads. There was no doubt the whole time. We're just rolling teams. And literally, I think we had two hard games that entire season.
That's it.
Yeah.
And is one of them the championship game?
Yeah. And against
Okay.
UCLA. And I actually torn my ACL. So I tore my
Damn.
ACL. But like I always say, like I felt a part of it because it started in the spring with
Yeah, it
all the
started
city.
early. Hmm.
And one cool thing about Stanford is everybody's so locked in that like on the sidelines, like it's like different. Stanford was so different with like people who are not even playing, like everybody is like locked in.
Yeah.
Uh, but in the national championship game, I think the final score was 3-2. Jay Bossier, we call her Jay Boss. She in the like waning minutes scored a banger with her left foot. And it was crazy because Paul would always just be like, just practice your strong foot. And Jay would be like, no, I'm practicing my weak foot. And
Hey, it
she
worked
scored
out.
with her left foot. And in that game, like we had all these freshmen that stepped up the whole season, but in our championship game, it was the seniors. Andy scored, um, and Jay scored. I'm pretty sure. Maybe Kira scored. I just remember it was the seniors who were
Yeah.
like, no, we're winning. Like, we're winning this thing. The
And it came
regulation.
full circle, basically, starting from the spring, working hard, keeping everyone
Yeah.
accountable.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what happened, I guess, after that season? Um, what were your goals? Like you kind of won it all already. So what was, next up for you?
Well, so I had to rehab. I had to decide if I wanted to
Mm,
keep playing in
okay.
rehab or call it. And I had an extra year of eligibility because I had redshirted 1 year with another knee injury. And
Hmm.
so I decided I wanted a different environment and that I was going to go and do a grad transfer.
Okay.
So I did all my rehab at Stanford. And then once I graduated, I went straight to Wake Forest.
Okay.
Because Wake was
Winston-Salem?
out of high school. So they were like my number two. But I went on a visit to Wake and to Boston College because that was my 2 and 3.
Mm,
And it was everything came full circle. But Tony DeLuz, who's the head coach at Wake Forest, I love him. And I was like, yeah, I want to go to Wake and play for Tony.
Hmm.
And so then I finished up my rehab there. And I actually wasn't cleared until our first conference game. I couldn't play any non-conference.
Oh wow.
And we were like ACC's tough, man.
Hmm.
So we were kind of middle of the pack. We didn't even make the ACC tournament, but we went to the NCAA tournament. We went to the Sweet 16. Like that's kind of how the ACC is.
That's
We weren't
wild. You don't make the ACC tournament, but you go ahead and make the NCAA one.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
because the ACC is so stacked.
It is. North Carolina's always good.
Well, every team, you have Florida
Yeah.
State, you have UVA, like random teams just pop off every
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so I felt like people were like, "Oh, you looked great playing," and I was just like, "No, I didn't feel like I had gotten everything. Like I feel like I didn't have my same like explosion
Hmm.
since my knee injury."
Hmm.
And I was just like, I can't hang it up. Like I still know I can just like keep going with soccer and like I still haven't reached my potential.
Okay.
So then I was like, I'm gonna keep working. And so one of our interns throughout the whole spring would like work with me. And so we were doing like speed, sprint training, all these explosive lifts. And I felt like in the spring I finally was like back to my same, like we call it pop in track. I feel like I had pop back.
Okay.
And I try to get agents, like going pro is a whole other thing because I didn't want to go to the draft because I want to finish my master's because the draft for the NWSL is in January and then you report in February and March. And I had to wait until May until graduation.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's always some people try and go to school and go back and forth and it never works. It's always just really hard
Yeah.
because you're there and you're trying out.
It's a big time commitment. Yeah.
Well, like, how are you going to try out when you're not there? Like, the coaches are just like out of
Yeah.
sight, out of mind.
Right. Right.
And so, and I knew like I would have to be there to try and get a spot, and but I wanted to graduate. So I was like, I'll just try and go overseas. But it's harder because you have to have some sort of connection. And then I tried to get agents and I couldn't get an agent
Oh,
because
okay.
no agents wanted to take me on because I didn't have like this big pedigree, all of these like accolades. I didn't get accolades.
Hmm.
And so I finally just found a connection with the Swiss team and was like, okay, I'll go to Switzerland. And like that was my first pro team. And I had no other options essentially. But I
Yeah.
could just and we were like a Champions League team. But
How was
yeah,
that? How was that living over there?
it was
That's a jump.
craziness. No, it was just crazy. Like essentially they were trying to do everything under the table. So like all the foreigners got deported. Um,
Oh, what the?
yeah. But coming from like a Stanford, the level was lower.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask that earlier. Was, the your time at Stanford and the level of play the best compared to like everything else you've been playing in?
Um, well, I would say some of my pro teams it was better.
It was better then.
Um, I would say the training environment at Stanford was the hardest.
Okay.
I would say the NWSL is similar, but they're not on you because like if for like me, like when I was with the Rain, I came as like a nobody and
Mm.
I was on trial. So like they didn't know who I was. And so it was harder because they didn't give you opportunity as a trialist. Um, but like since they didn't care about you, like they weren't on you. Like Paul would be on me. Like he's like, if you want to play and we're finishing, you have to score 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay, like there's just pressure.
Yeah.
Here at the Rain, I had self pressure. Like I'm like, if I want to make the team, I got to make a statement. But it
Right.
wasn't from them. It wasn't from
Okay.
other people. They didn't expect anything out of you.
Right. Right.
But it was tough because if you're on trial, you wouldn't even get the time of day. Like if we're playing, we might just be bumpers the whole time. Or they would be like forwards over here, and I'm a forward, and they'd be like, oh, actually, go with the defenders and just be the pressure on the defenders, or go with the forwards and just defend the forwards. So you just wouldn't get reps.
Yeah, yeah. The meaningful reps.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
wouldn't get reps. So it was harder in that sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but I would say like um it wasn't like a cohesive, everybody's bought in like culture
Yeah.
of excellence. There was always like some people who like would be messing up and people wouldn't say anything,
Hmm.
or um yeah, so like I would say like the technical side, Stanford was like the hardest.
Okay.
The tactical side in the pros is a different level.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest jump, is like I would say teams are more organized, so they're harder to break down. But individually, players aren't better from like
I see what you
college to
mean.
pro,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they're more organized. So like in college, I would get the ball isolated a lot more. In pros, people are shifting quicker. It's like harder to be isolated
Yeah.
because they're just more structured.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then learning how the coach wants you to play and
Hmm.
the system that they're trying to do, that's always like a learning curve with like coaches who have different styles.
Yeah. So just different basically in how it's, better than, or not better, more competitive or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't like, I would say my Stanford team could beat a lot of pro teams. However, I wouldn't say we just steamroll them, and I wouldn't say we'd beat all the teams, because in college the tactics aren't there in America.
Yeah.
So it'd just be hard because we wouldn't be used to going up a block, like going against a block. Like teams don't really
Right.
sit in college.
Right.
Everyone's trying to press. And if you can beat the press, you're good.
Right. Goal right away.
Subbing rules are different. And so that's why you have to be tactically better as a pro, because you just can't sub fresh legs on to just press and press and press.
Hmm. Hmm. It's all calculated and
Yeah. So there's just stuff like that.
hmm. No, I hear that. I hear that. It makes sense. It's just different compared to Stanford days and the pro days and everything and organization and everything like that. Do you find, I guess, like when you started playing professional, it more frustrating that it wasn't, as not saying as easy, but it was just different.
Yeah, like, yeah, as a pro playing, um, there's always things that are frustrating. At Stanford, there's a lot of stuff that was frustrating.
Hmm.
Like, there's just different beasts. Um, but I would say, um, the coaching also as a pro isn't always there, and in college too.
Yeah.
But like I've been on teams where the coaching was just lacking. And so that would be the most frustrating part,
Hmm.
because I would be like, what in the world is going on? Like just even the fundamentals, you're like, what?
Yeah.
But I feel like on the women's side, a lot of places they don't care, because especially 5 years ago, in a lot of countries, women's soccer wasn't appreciated, wasn't valued, and it is just now starting to become respected.
Right.
So they get some random guy who didn't have a coaching background at a high level, and they put him with the women's team
Yeah.
because they didn't care enough to like find someone quality or pay
Proper.
someone
Hmm.
who's quality.
Yeah. Did you experience that kind of situation while overseas?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did that kind
And
of force you to
that
want to come
happens,
back here?
but that happens in America too.
Yeah,
Like
that's true. That's true.
they just find these men. It's always men, and like, what was your background? Because, and I've had it, like, coaches have said to me point blank, I wouldn't be able to coach at this level on the men's side.
Damn. That's a
They
shitty thing
know,
to hear. What kind of confidence that gonna put you in, in your
but it's
players?
matter of fact. And it's not even thought about as like, that's effed up.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah.
matter of fact, because they're like, oh, on the men's side, to coach the first team on the men's side, I'd have to either have played pro or been with the national team, because that's all of their playing backgrounds.
Right.
And the coaches on the women's side, they haven't played on the national team. They haven't had a pro career. They've just kind of come through the ranks and then they get on the women's side. Where on the men's side, you have to have the high level playing background to even be in the conversation.
Yeah. Damn. I didn't know it was like that prominent at, that level. I thought it was maybe, these levels right here that, the younger levels and everything. Where it's like, hey, someone's dad come and do this.
No, a lot of times it'd be like a guy on the men's side who didn't play at a high level, but he wanted to coach and he had the youth academy, and then they promote him to be the first team women's coach.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference as you're, playing with the coach who's played at a high level. And that's not everything, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And you only can get so much with coaching courses.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Them lectures, them classes, I mean, yeah, you only get so much.
yeah.
Yeah. So you were overseas, few little locations, came back to the States. Was that kind of a goal of yours to come back to the US and play here?
Yeah. No, I definitely wanted to come back. And I heard about the USL Super League and got really
Hmm.
excited because being abroad, it gets isolating.
Hmm.
Um, it's just it gets tiring and draining. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to like have friends and family come to my games, to have
Hmm.
a life outside of soccer. Like all that is hard to cultivate abroad. And like my mom came when I was in Denmark. My dad hadn't seen me play a pro game until I
Oh,
came
wow.
here.
Wow.
There's COVID and things, so
Hmm.
like when I was with the rain, it was COVID, they couldn't come. And then like my season in Scotland, it was COVID, it was closed door. So, and like Australia was so far, it's
That
really
is far.
expensive.
Yeah.
Um, and then I come over here and literally I've had family and friends at every game I've played at. And
That's
I'm on
amazing.
the coast, like, and it's far.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
those things, like it actually makes such a difference. And like I've loved that. And it's been something I've wanted and just haven't been able to have. And
Right.
so um I was so glad like when I heard about the USL because there are so many players in America who have to go abroad just because the opportunity was so small. You only
Yeah.
had 12, or so teams in the WSL.
Right.
America's this huge country, and there's these European countries that have first division, second division, and they have like a fraction of the population.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, just the opportunity here needed to grow. And the USL is going to continue to expand. I guess next year they're bringing in 4 to 6 teams. So
Oh,
that
wow.
only just American soccer, and then the
Right.
girls who had to go abroad can come back and play if they
Can come home. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how's this season been so far for you with DC?
I mean, it's been the struggle over here. It's been the
Uh-huh.
struggle, but because we haven't won a game, so
Oh, wow.
yeah.
It's okay. It's only up. It's only up from there. I was actually at the Carolina game, the
Okay.
first one.
Yeah.
Because I'm from North Carolina. I was back home for the weekend, went to that game, and the atmosphere, I didn't expect it to be like that. It was
No,
sold
that was
out. They had
yeah.
towels, little towels like this, flyover. I was impressed.
Yeah, and I heard they had the parachuters.
Yes, like two of them, three of them came down, one with the flag, with the colored smoke. I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, they really doing it with this league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was so cool. That was the biggest crowd I've ever played in front of. So
Was it
that was
really?
really, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because we broke the record for for both the Carolinas in attendance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was high. It was sold out. The whole thing was sold out. It was
Yeah,
kind of hard to get tickets, low key, too. I thought we could just show up and get them. Nah, we had to
yeah.
get a couple of days
So,
before.
no, like, and I played in the Final Four at Wake Med.
Hmm.
North Carolina Courage plays at Wake Med. So, like,
Hmm.
to bring in that sort of attendance when you have these big soccer tournaments, these big events, is saying something.
Right. No, it's true. It's true. And how are you like living in DC?
I love living in DC.
Yeah.
I'm in Arlington, which is like if you talk to anyone from out here, like that doesn't count. But for me, I'm
No,
like,
it counts. I went to school over there at George Washington, and
okay,
after I graduated, I lived in Pentagon City for a year.
okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm very familiar with the whole area and everything. But yeah,
yeah.
great city. I love DC. So I just wanted to hear, your perspective of it all.
I yeah, and being a history major, I've gone to the African American History Museum like 3 times already. Like I just yeah, there's so much to do.
Hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's go ahead and hear some future aspirations from you for this season and then, the next couple of years.
Well, going in, I was like, yeah, I want to win um the championship with the team. I'm always like, I want to be top scorer, top assister. Like that's my goal every team I go on.
Hmm.
Um, we have to really turn it around. Um, so we'll see kind of how the season plays out.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, honestly, for me, I just want to be able to like enjoy playing
yeah.
because it's so far into your career that like it's hard to like still enjoy it and like that's just kind of my goal at the end of the day. It's like just to have fun,
Hmm.
play because there's just so much stress with
Hmm.
being a pro. Like I feel like it's glamorized, but there's just so much.
Yeah, you just want to have fun with it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you. So a couple of questions from the Instagram account. We'll do a couple like I guess more serious questions and more
Okay.
inspirational, and then more so get to know. So first one, someone asked, "What's a piece of advice that you received that still sticks with you today?"
Ooh. Honestly, my mom, both my parents are athletes.
Hmm.
My mom and I were at a baseball game, at a Mariners game.
Hmm.
And she was like, I heard from somewhere that baseball players, they like the batters
Hmm.
to hit one of those fastballs. It's like it's one of the hardest things to do in sports. It's like hit a fastball that's coming at like 100 miles per hour or whatever.
Yeah,
Just because, it's like,
it's ridiculous. I don't know how they do it, to be
because,
honest.
it's like how fast it comes.
Yeah,
There's some stat, it's like equivalent to like, it's like a needle in a haystack sort of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And these guys strike out all the time.
Right.
They strike out like 70% of the time.
Hmm.
I don't know the stats. I think 70% if you're good,
That's yeah. If you're good, I think, huh?
right? And so she's like, and they have to come up, and I guess this guy said it in a podcast or something. He's like, you have to come up with the confidence that you're going to hit a homer every single time.
And that's
And
stuck
you
with
can't
you.
let the past strikeouts deter you. And you can't even have that in your mind. You have to be able to let it go and come up with the utmost confidence every single time you're at bat. And so
Yeah.
I'm taking that with me to soccer. Like, doesn't matter. Last time I tried to go one-on-one, I lost the ball. I had a bad touch. I have to, every time I get it, come with the confidence that like I'm gonna be my defender. I'm gonna make something happen
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
let the other stuff go.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's a good one. Shout out your mom for that one. And shout
Hmm.
out wherever she heard it from.
Yeah.
All right, and then who has been the best opponent you've played against? Shoot it. It could even be, from the same team. It could be, from high school, college, pro.
Like a team or a person.
A person, a person.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I would say who I love to go against was Andy Sullivan.
And why is that?
Because Andy is a fierce competitor, and so am I. But we have the utmost respect for each other. And we both take the shit personal. We both have a chip on our shoulder. So we be going so hard. And so I love going against Andy because it's like the one thing like iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and Andy takes her defending, she takes it with pride, takes it personal. So if I beat her,
Hmm.
she's like, and like I'm
Right.
going against her and she's getting everything. So I beat her, I'm like, mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that I always love going against Andy.
Was there any ever shit talking, or was it just, strictly
No,
business?
no.
Oh
People don't
wow,
really shit
okay.
talk to soccer, but yeah, she's
Oh,
my
I
favorite.
do.
No, people don't shit talk
Oh,
to soccer.
definitely.
Not in women's soccer. I had one teammate, Hannah Farr. She would shit talk, and I'd give it back to her, and it was so fun. But she was the only one who would do it.
That's it. Everybody else just, too polite, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so a couple of get to know questions. Let's get to know you off the pitch. Um, we know that, or basically off of Instagram, we know that you're a writer.
hmm
So I guess can you talk about, your writing work that you do?
Yeah, I have written for Anscape, which is the Undefeated. They rebranded. I've written for Gentleman Sports, written for Parody, and then I have my own blog. I haven't really done it this season, but I have like my blog with 2 cents and that transition to 41 Mag about my experience as a Black woman playing overseas. And so for me, it's just like a creative outlet and
Hmm.
a chance to express myself, but also to shine a light on like what it's like and some of the struggles that like women have all the time, that Black players have all the time, that like people can relate to.
Right.
And I like to say my sweet spot is at the intersection of race, sports, and gender. And like my first piece, how I even got into writing was I got connected with the writer from The Undefeated.
Hmm.
And we're just talking, and he was like, you have something to say? Just like write. Just write something, you have something to say. And I was like, what? But I was like, you know what? I have been thinking about Crystal Dunn and like her story. And he was like, pitch it. And so I pitched this piece about her playing and all everything she's had gone through as like a Black woman.
Hmm.
And they liked it. And so I interviewed her, interviewed Megan Rapinoe. So that's another perk is like I get to interview these like people I've looked up to.
Yeah,
I
no,
wrote
that's
another
amazing.
on Brianna Scurry, got to interview her, 80 French. So I wrote about like them being Black and gay and on the national team because French was the second Black keeper after Brianna Scurry to
Hmm.
be on the national team. So I've been able to just use my voice to kind of highlight the realities
Yeah.
of like being a Black woman. And for me, it's really rewarding. And I think people who read it got a lot out of it and have changed their perspectives and like kind of opened their mind. So I just enjoy it. And if you guys are listening and you haven't read these pieces, I have them on my Instagram. Like you can kind of find them through there. But yeah, just check them out.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing to use, the platform that you have and the voice you have for good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So couple more get to know questions before going to, arriving to the stadium for a game. It'd be a two-parter. How about this? Two-parter. What's one song you gotta listen to before getting onto the field? And what's the fit looking like when you arrive?
Okay. Um, okay, I'll give you two
Okay.
songs that get me going.
Okay.
Problems and Girl Fight.
Girlfriend. Who's that by?
Girl Fight, it's old. It's old. It's
I
like
don't know that one.
it's about to be a girl fight.
And that gets you in that mode.
Yes.
All right, I like that. I like that. And then what's the fit looking like when you arrive into the stadium?
Well, also this is another reason why I want to come back to the States because in Europe they don't really do this. They don't really do the fits.
No?
No.
Well, it's just that
It's
the tracksuit and
polo.
go?
It's polo, not even a
Oh,
tracksuit. And
oh,
so
I
I've
don't like
been
that.
itching to come back to the States just to have my little fits.
Okay.
So, and we only can do it on home games because on
Okay.
away games with the polo.
Oof.
But I gotta put on my Instagram. I've been sloughing, but I've had some fits.
Yeah?
I had a few. They're more like kind of like cute than like sporty than
Okay.
like streetwear. but I'll probably throw in some streetwear here and there as we move
Okay.
forward. They've
Okay,
been a
okay.
little, they've been cute.
All right, so you got you got a variety of different fits. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, hey, listen, thank you for joining the pod. It was lovely to hear your story. Thank you for sharing a lot of them, giving a lot of energy and everything like that. And yeah, just thank you. Thank you for your time. We wish you, a healthy
Oh,
and blessed
thank
season.
you. Thank you. Thank you.